Welcome, friends, to a brand new episode of Beauty Unlocked. I'm Carissa, and today we're diving into a topic that's becoming increasingly prevalent among young men: muscle dysmorphia, or as it's often called, bigorexia. This psychological disorder is marked by an obsessive desire for a jacked physique, and it's on the rise, exacerbated by social media. But is there a silver lining? Can social media also offer solutions? Let's get into it. Let me tell you the story of Diego Mercado, whose journey sheds light on this complex issue. As strange as it sounds, Diego Mercado's journey toward a crisis began in a movie theater in the Bronx when he was just 16 years old. Mercado was sitting in a multiplex when he saw a dude rip off his shirt in a Twilight movie. He says, and I quote, "Like you see that awesome aesthetic body. Like, oh man, I want that," he recalls. Right then and there, he decided he had to build a six pack too. He wanted a body that everyone knew was in great shape. So the high school sophomore hit the weights. At first, he worked out at a Planet Fitness, but as he got more serious, he sought out a more serious gym. Star Fitness in the Bronx was hardcore, full of competitive powerlifters, bodybuilders, and other guys who made strength training part of their identity. He was reading every PubMed study on testosterone and anabolic protocols when he should have been attentive in his high school classes. Mercado immersed himself in gym culture, feeling passion and peer pressure to look the part. He was way bigger, stronger, and fitter looking than he had been before, but he noticed that some of his friends who didn't seem as committed as he was were making faster progress. He desperately wanted to make greater gains. After learning he had low testosterone levels, Mercado wound up taking a stack of anabolic compounds without medical supervision. He became obsessive about training and dieting. Mercado was crushing 2 or even 3 sessions at the gym daily. To micromanage his food intake, he was toting a scale to the Mexican and Cuban restaurants where he worked as a server and bartender. He also was camping out on Instagram, sharing his quest for muscularity and mainlining the fitness content of other ripped guys. His Instagram account, which he'd later scrub, was packed with images that showed his arms stretching the limits of his t-shirts and his big screen worthy abs. It felt like going from Clark Kent to Superman, Mercado says. When he was at the gym, he suddenly felt like he was always his best self. His confidence and energy levels skyrocketed. The compliments from those around him poured in. He scuttled plans to become an engineer and focused on fitness. I became so obsessed it took over my life without me noticing it. I literally became a different person. But in July 2019, that person wound up having the scare of his life. He was out late at a club on a Saturday night with restaurant friends when he started to feel unnaturally hot. Though he'd felt hot from the steroids before, it was nothing like this. He went home and crashed, but woke up in a pool of sweat. His head was pounding. I felt like I was dying, Mercado recalls. He knew he had to get to the emergency room. There, as he lay on a gurney, doctors told him that his hemoglobin count was so high that his blood was getting sludgy. All Mercado ever wanted to do was get strong. He had no idea that he would eventually grapple with the consequences of muscle dysmorphia, a disorder that's characterized by a desire to get muscular and lean and that can take over your life. In one sense, Mercado is lucky. He got his wake-up call before he had a heart attack or stroke. Now, 22, he remains passionate about fitness and works as a personal trainer, and he can do so with the wisdom of someone who knows how to do it right. Still, Mercado carries a heavy burden. His hormone production may be altered for life, affecting everything from testosterone to serotonin. And it's tough to be a personal trainer or fitness influencer in this social media age if you're not jacked. When asked what advice he might offer young men about going all in to get muscular after his struggle with dysmorphia, Mercado's voice cracks. "Don't do it unless you're okay losing everything and everyone you cared about," he says. "You can wind up at less than 0 when you're done." Muscle dysmorphia is an enigma, studied for decades but still not seen as a public health crisis like eating disorders. Researchers estimate that MD impacts about 1 out of every 500 American men. But those numbers may not reflect the large group of men who don't meet the clinical criteria, yet struggle with urges to get bigger. One 2019 University of California, San Francisco study of young American adults found that more than a fifth of men engaged in muscularity based disordered eating behaviors. And a 2018 study of adolescents found that roughly 40% of boys who were of normal weight were actively trying to gain weight and get bigger. We don't know how many of those boys were engaging in risky behavior to get the body they want, but we know it's not zero. Other research has indicated that up to 54% of competitive bodybuilders and 13% of men in the military suffer from MD. Men with muscle dysmorphia are preoccupied with feeling small or insufficiently muscular. But to meet the criteria, it takes more than dissatisfaction with your body or a fixation on lifting, says Jason Nagata, MD, an assistant professor of pediatrics at UCSF. Muscle dysmorphia comes with an impairment in daily functioning, he says. Men with MD obsess about weight, food, exercise, and/or appearance in a way that worsens their quality of life. This typically translates into feelings of significant distress and a disruption of one's personal, work, or school life. Most guys who've lifted weights seriously have some perspective on the problem. That urge to get more muscular, the lurking frustration if progress comes slowly, the way you can slide into overtraining or obsessive dieting to reach goalposts that keep shifting, the way you can feel consumed with wanting to get bigger. There's even a classic bodybuilding expression that encapsulates the underlying preoccupation. The day you start lifting is the day you become forever small. Muscle dysmorphia has been in the news lately, framed as a disorder of the moment. While there's no epidemiological data yet substantiating a higher incidence of MD, all the experts interviewed for this story, written by Peter Flax for Men's Health magazine online, see evidence that the problem is growing. So what's changed? The idealization of the male physique is hardly new. Arnold's pecs made him a movie star in the 80s, and then magazines like the one you're holding celebrated a hyper-idealized masculinity in which ripped abs became the emblem of living your best life. A generation of guys absorbed Fight Club and Abercrombie & Fitch branding and Calvin Klein billboards. This muscle-bound vision of masculinity became inescapable. It was even in the action figures kids played with. But in recent years, that cultural saturation has accelerated. Now, practically every Marvel character not played by Jon Favreau is jacked. Use of muscle-building supplements and drugs, ranging from protein powders and creatine to human growth hormone and anabolic compounds, has grown into a multi-billion-dollar love affair. And social media has been like lighter fluid on the fire. In the past, you were in read-only mode, says Dr. Nagata. Now, with social media, everyone can become an influencer. Boys' bodies are on display. I see the impact in my own household. My younger son, who's 15, has gotten into lifting. He and his buddies hit the gym 6 days a week. They're more interested in having defined abs than in building basic strength. They're drinking protein shakes and scheming to get creatine. They talk about getting big. Teenagers have wanted to be buff for a long time, but there's something different about how this generation experiences it. My son's Instagram and TikTok feeds are full of dubious inspiration, a stream of shirtless torsos, bodybuilder types who insist their physiques are natural despite evidence to the contrary. Acquaintances who are ripped, and young influencers who are more ripped. We've reached a point where teenagers who obsessively work out and make content in their bedrooms exert legit cultural influence. To complicate matters, this ideal body is less and less accessible. We're leading a more sedentary lifestyle, but the dudes whose physiques are celebrated online and on screen are putting in the kind of work that's hard to match. When movie stars bulk up for roles, they follow elite training and nutrition programs. Many also get pharmaceutical assistance. If you compare this with the 1990s, when stars like Brad Pitt in Fight Club and LL Cool J were cultural icons of the ultimate body, it seems more extreme now, says Daniel Linares, a New York City-based psychotherapist who specializes in treating MD. These days, the ultimate body is only attainable by people who work out constantly, have elite genetics, and get drug help. Yet there's more pressure on men to look like that. There's almost a sense that if you're a man, you have to get there. Still, the nature of MD can make it especially challenging to detect and treat. You need a fitness professional who knows the mental health side, says Dr. Nagata. Then you also need a mental health professional who knows the fitness side. It's helpful to have those professionals collaborating. If muscle dysmorphia is an insidious and complicated disorder, social media has only made it worse. Though Mercado has ditched Instagram, others have managed to regain their lives and thrive online. Steve Prince, 34, was obsessed with working out from 14 until his early 30s. Prince, who lives in Lakewood, Ohio, packed on muscle, reaching 260 pounds when he was 24. After hurting his shoulder, he decided to slim down, and after struggling, has maintained a healthy relationship with fitness and food since his late 20s. But MD hasn't vanished. I still feel the urge to check myself out in the mirror, and it's impossible to completely shut off the voice inside my head that wants me to get bigger, Prince says. Now, when he notices his MD resurfacing, he takes a break from social media. Prince still posts on Instagram, but he's a lot more deliberate about it now. He'll show off his fitness progress, but also reveal his struggles. He aims to be real. He has more than 200,000 followers. I'm trying to offer positivity and education, he says. He's part of a growing community of fitness influencers who are striving for a healthier message and counteracting some of the misinformation that's out there. Many are honest about their flaws and vulnerabilities. This may be an emerging form of solution. These days, Mercado feels thankful he got a chance to fix his life. He still works out, but he does it in a way that keeps his body safe. He's pursuing a master's degree in sports nutrition, and he wants to help men train wisely. Social media is still an everyday part of his life, and while he sees the damage it can do, he's also come to view it as an avenue for change. There are men out there with these insane physiques who tell their followers that it's all hard work, but they're taking stuff that's not even legal, he says. That's what people need to hear about. If nothing else, Mercado's experience has made him resolute to never make that mistake again. I'm very lucky to be alive. And that's it for this episode of Beauty Unlocked. Diego Mercado's story is a powerful reminder of the complexities behind muscle dysmorphia and the profound impact social media can have on our self-perception. If you or someone you know is grappling with similar challenges, remember that seeking professional help and support from loved ones is vital. Thank you for joining me today. If you found this episode insightful, please subscribe, rate, and review Beauty Unlocked on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback and support means the world. Remember, friends, to stay hydrated, wear that SPF, stay safe, and you'll hear from me very, very soon. Bye! Make it clap, clap, clap. Make it clap, clap, clap. Make it clap, clap, clap. Make it clap, clap. Make it clap.